Hello, hello. My name is Holger. My heritage is German, as you can hear on my accent. So, what I would like to do today is telling you a little story. It's one of these nights again where I can't go to sleep. It's probably 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm sitting out here and thinking. Also, this is a good story for my kids, which are grown up now. But when I'm not here anymore, it will be a good reminder for them. Anyways, this is a story my grandma told me. And I have to say, none of my parents were in the Second World War. They were just too young. My dad and my mom were born 1934. So when the war broke out, they were barely 5 years old. And when the war ended, they were around 11 years old. So they weren't fighting or involved in the war in any kind. Having said that, the parents of my parents, so my grandparents, they did not do any active fighting in the war either. So my granddad was a hairdresser. So when he went into the war, I can't even remember his age exactly, but when he went into the war, he was a driver for a higher German person. I don't really know exactly because I never met him. The only pictures I remember is that he was always standing in front of these big vehicles and posing as a driver there. Anyways, so one story is you always hear the bad Germans. So I would like to tell a story from the bad German side. My grandmother told me that in the war, lots of times people had to go to bed in their regular clothes. The reason was actually that at night time they did not know when the next airplanes are coming, the next bombs were dropped, and they had to run to a facility to hide, like a bunker or something. So they were dressed basically like they were dressed at daytime, sleeping. Shoes were ready, a bag was ready, so that as soon as the sirens would come on, they could run and look for shelters. So I remember telling her, I think it was 1943, middle of the war. The sirens were going on again. They were running out of the houses. It took a little bit longer than usually, so the bombs were already dropping and a lot of things were already burning. But about the European history, most roads were built from copperstones at that point. Stones roughly that size and sitting in the ground, and there was tar around it so that they don't move. And so tar is highly flammable, as you know. So when the bombs were dropping, and my dad and my grandmother were getting dressed or getting the last things together, and running out of the house, they saw a woman running also through the streets, and she was running with high heels. So now keep in mind, you can only save what you have on your with you and the clothes and all that stuff. So I guess for that woman, the high heels were important, and she didn't really think about it, what could happen. So in the meantime, the bombs were dropping, and the fire was spreading, and the roads were actually getting warmer and warmer and warmer. So to the point where the tar started melting. And at this point, this woman was running over the streets, and she was basically getting stuck with her high heels in the tar. So she tried to get out of the tar and run further, but she was stuck. So the only way she could run to go hiding in the bunkers was taking the shoes off. Now, can you imagine running on this hot tar? Some of the tar was already burning, barefoot, just to flee and find a spot to hide. So that was a story from a civilian side. My grandparents are from Bremen. Bremen was a major city in the Second World War for harbors, oil industry. They were building submarines. They were building airplanes, Focke-Wulf, as an example. So Bremen was a majority target, easy to reach because over the North Sea there were not too many casualties when they were flying in. My grandparents had a hairdresser shop, and in order to have this hairdresser shop and have customers, the Nazi Party actually wanted you to belong to them. You had to be a member of this Nazi Party. If you refuse what my grandparents did for a while, then they would basically break the windows, or they wouldn't make sure that you have no customers, that nobody comes to you and doing business. So it was a necessity to be a member of the Nazi Party, even if you did not believe in it. Having said that, you also had to put out flags at certain, if there's a parade day, if there is a birthday from a high Nazi member or something. And my grandparents did not do that all the time because they didn't believe in it. And again, they were fined for not putting out the Nazi flag when they were supposed to do it.